Welcome to Your Business Without Borders. It's time to simplify your business so you can scale up, make more, and work less. This podcast is for creatives, innovators, risk takers, and rule breakers who are ready to push through traditional boundaries, make a big impact, and have more fun and freedom on the road to success. Now, here's your host, Natasha Mitchell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Business Without Borders. My name's Natasha Mitchell, and in today's interview, we're discussing how starting is just as important as success. And it's all about stop preparing and start doing. My guest today is Olenka Cullinan, and Olenka is a speaker and action coach, and she's the founder of I Start First. She's got a really interesting story. She's going to tell us about that, but she moved to the US with only $450 in her pocket, and if she can do that and live through that, she can certainly take the lead on addressing all of those I can never be successful because excuses that we can all make. Through her speaking and coaching, her goal is to help her clients up-level their business and mindset, and she ignites brands to be great innovators, especially in millennial and women leadership marketplaces. She's empowering leaders to stop preparing for that perfect moment and start doing instead. So welcome to the show today, Olenka. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha. So excited.
Yeah, I really love your passion for inspiring women, and I can't wait to hear some of your nuggets and great information as we discuss today. So first things first, I want to start with this story of coming to the US with $450 in your pocket. You build up a business empire after that, and you've become a highly sought after speaker and mentor to so many. So can you tell me a little bit about that journey and, some of the things you've overcome along the way?
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, it still sounds, now obviously it sounds so just different than that when it was happening, right? When you are in the picture, you don't even see the frame. And this was my way of coming here and literally borrowing $450 from my uncle, and if you know anything about my uncle, I since have paid it back with percentages. But really what I wanted to do is just figure out how far I can get on my own. And when I moved here initially, before I started building my first business, I always knew that it was just a skill set, right? Like the success that everybody talks about, it's not a magical unicorn. It's not something that you just create because you were born into that. It truly is a set of skills. And I was very lucky in that sense because my mother was a diehard entrepreneur. She ran her own company for 37 years. She definitely taught me a lot of skills, exposed me to a lot of people, but I also took it for granted. I was 14, 15 years old, walking into rooms, negotiating contracts with people, didn't think anything of it. And so it definitely, later on came on super handy. I remember being in college, living off a bag of chips and eggs for a few weeks straight because I didn't have any family here and I had to work 3 jobs to put myself through college. But it also gave me a lot of resilience. I look at a lot of experiences in my life, like I'm sure most entrepreneurs do, and say, would I do that again? Probably not. Was the outcome worth it? 100%. And so, I built my first company, same thing, kind of left the job, took that leap, and didn't think anything in the sense that, I thought, what if it's going to happen? What if I can actually do that? And we taught teens how to start businesses. The company was called Rising Tycoons. And same thing. I realized that there is no perfect moment. There is no perfect outline. So I literally learned how to fly a parachute while I was jumping. It's the best way I can describe it. And I think that's one of the things that I learned very early on. And I did a TED Talk, and that's what my topic was about. I truly believe that people who are, innovating, who are building something and who are following their passion and stepping into their purpose, it's not that they have a map or that they have, a better journey than anybody else. They just really start doing and do it one step at a time. So, now fast forward, I sold my first company. I now am working on my second brand. I Start First, empowering women to really, elevate their mindset and their business. And in the process of all of that, I never really knew how it's all going to turn out. I just kept stepping the steps and doing the action. And then in reality, that to me is more important than any type of preparation, because when you build in that something that doesn't exist, right, as a lot of us entrepreneurs do, or modify, we take a business or an idea that exists and make it better, we can't really predict what's going to happen. And we just have to be very, very nimble. So
yeah, well, it's such an interesting background. It sounds like you've had some great role models, but I think you really touch on that, that key entrepreneurial spirit, which is, we don't always have a roadmap. I mean, there are plenty of roadmaps out there, but even with the roadmap, until you actually get in and start rolling up your sleeves and putting in the work, you don't always know what to expect. I think there are a couple of key characteristics you spoke about there. There's sort of this risk taking, but there's also a resilience that we need to build up. And sometimes I think the best entrepreneurs are the people that have come from the most challenging circumstances and have had to work. And it's not about the working hard, but it's just about gaining experience in life and, understanding how people work, understanding that, not everything goes to plan, and then just picking yourself up. So, you're a great inspiration to so many people in that way. And you've touched on a little bit your business called I Start First. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how, what kind of things you're doing to help empower women through this?
Yeah. And honestly, I Start First, again, just like everything else in my life seems to be, it started with a hashtag. I really never planned to build it in a full-fledged company. I just wanted to go and speak and inspire more women to really show up in their full power. So I started using hashtag I Start First to tell women that whatever you want to change in your life, right? Whatever you want to create, you just have to start. And with that message, more women started reaching out and asking, what else do you have? And I really didn't have anything except for my speaking. And in the process, obviously saw more women asking, how do you build things out? How do you take idea and turn it into business? How do you scale it and take that, side hustle or whatever, that baby business that you have, and actually turn it into a full-fledged business built on systems, which you do and know really well. And, that's how I Start First really came to be. And now we have the bootcamp, and Next Six Figures Bootcamp, which is truly designed for women to either make their first 6 figures or take them to the next 6 figures. And then we also have an event, a one-day event that's called I Start First Summit. And obviously I Start First is a big community where, we have our own Facebook group and we all hang out together and we make sure that we meet and, chat. Because to me, one of the biggest things I think women miss sometimes, we have such a tendency to fall into this lonely place where we feel we're the only ones struggling the struggle. Mm-hmm. Well, in reality, right, when we start the conversation, we realize that so many women around us are having exactly the same issues and dealing with exactly the same things, or at least similar things. And so to me, I Start First is always going to be community first. And one of the things I personally was determined to do is, how do you take a bunch of ambitious, incredible, talented women and teach them to collaborate and not to compete? Because unfortunately, we live in a society where so many times we're pushed that it's the, eat what you kill and dog eat dog. And, as women, we have to somehow compete against anybody. And, I just recently saw a quote that pretty much became my new motto. I said, it's basically said that the reason she's not your competition, she's the proof that it can be done.
Right.
And that's probably one of my favorite mottos for building I Start First, because even when women are in the boot camp and they come in from really all over the world because it's virtual, mm-hmm. they get to see that regardless of your culture, socioeconomic status, and your financial and marital situation, they have so much in common, and they have so many similar struggles and excitement and collaboration opportunities, that when they truly step into that, it makes it so much easier for them to build their businesses.
Yeah, well, that's a really beautiful and important motto. And I agree that community is such a cornerstone of being successful in business. And I know, sort of had the good and the bad side of that, right? I've had everyone wants to collaborate, and then suddenly it's like, how can I get more? How can I take more from this situation? Which is not ideal. And then the positive side of the collaboration, which is, I don't know everything. I don't want to know everything, and I don't need to know everything. So when I'm able to make collaboration opportunities with people, I find more skill sets come to the table. That's better for my clients. It's less work for me, and it's a whole lot more fun. So I love what you're doing with cultivating that really positive environment for women. And sometimes, just in the terms of getting started, sometimes it's just what you miss in an entrepreneurial space that you might have in an office. It's just to bounce an idea off someone. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about this idea. What do you think about that? Or how can we build on that? And, even that sort of foundation, I think, is so important for entrepreneurs.
For sure. No, I agree 100%. Very, very true.
Yeah. So Olenka, you talk about just get started, and it seems like it just should be easy. Like, let's just start. I know sometimes, I know myself, I've fallen into this trap of, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting started, and I get so far started, and then I sort of have to, push the button to go, and I kind of hold back a little bit right there. It's like, I have to test it. But like that pushing the button to say go sometimes can feel a little bit scary. So, what are some of the biggest barriers or blocks you see holding people back from getting started or from the success that they really can achieve?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I love it. It's so, so true what you just said. Yeah, I mean, I always say decision is easy, execution is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of times we make that decision, right? But then we overthink it. So overthinking is one of the things that holds so many of us back, because we get eager, we get excited, we see an opportunity, we see a way to even execute it. A lot of times we know what needs to be done, but then we start thinking of all the things that can go wrong, and all, we start getting advice from people we shouldn't be asking for advice for in the first place. And then we get all this, emotions in the mix. And before you know it, we are now pause mode. And so we're never actually doing that. And then obviously the second one is, I see all the time, is perfection, right? Because especially with women, we want everything to be perfect and pretty and organized. But, building a business is organized chaos, and most masterpieces are born out of chaos, actually. And so to me, if you're going to wait for perfect moment, especially with women, I always make comparison of having a child. And I say, listen, if you can deliver in the most messiest, most traumatic environment, and you're delivering a masterpiece, that's your child, you can most certainly do that with your business. But you have to give up on that idea. It's like, imagine if you came into the hospital to deliver your baby, and you said, I will only deliver if I have my perfect hair and perfect eyelashes, and it has to be at this time. And, none of it's going to happen. We wouldn't have any kids.
Yeah.
So it's the same with your business. If you're going to focus on perfection mode only, unfortunately, it's going to take years and maybe never for you to execute. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's really making like the simple steps. And I know you do that so great with using your blueprint, right? That you recommend for so many businesses. It's creating that simple blueprint, and regardless of your resistance, because it's going to be there. I mean, your resistance is natural. Again, you're going into the zone that's unfamiliar, and your brain is designed to keep you in comfort zone. Right. So it is going to give you resistance. It is going to hold you back from making that first move, but it's really focusing on that first step, and with my clients, I call it 90 seconds of courage. I say, if you're sitting in front of your website before you make it live, put the timer on 90 seconds, and somewhere there you have to press that button and make it live. If you're making a call, it's the same thing, because the second you go into those first few seconds, that fear is going to subside. But at first it's going to feel like completely overwhelming. And yeah, so I would say, don't worry about perfection. Definitely focus on like simple, tiny steps just to get things done and to get the ball rolling. And then obviously don't worry about being perfectly prepared, because things are going to change fast anyways.
Yeah, that's such a useful tactic. I'm going to try the 90-second rule. I'm pretty good at taking action, but there's a few things I'm just like, I can't do that. And it's the simplest things that I often get tripped up on. It's like, okay, I've written all the copy for the email. I just can't push the button to send it out. And, I see that a lot with my clients as well, the perfectionist. And, as an example of one of my clients that I was working with lately, they have a pretty tight deadline to get a launch out, and we were talking. She's like, it's going to take me a week or a month to produce every module, and there's 8 modules. I said, wait, like, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Your clients really don't need a book of 500 pages for every module. They just need like 5 bullet points. So can you do those 5 bullet points? And instead of trying to put them right into the main hosting platform, just put them on a Word document to start. So, you and I are so aligned in that way in terms of simplifying things down. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, I think that society has made us this kind of unrealistic culture of everything has to be perfect. We don't even live in a culture where mistakes are okay as a general rule.
For sure. No, yeah, I love that you said that. To me, yes, it's so true. I mean, you wake up to glorified version of everyone's, Insta reality all the time. It's like you already feel insecure and underperforming the second you go online because they're all crushing it. They all look like they just walked off a photo shoot from a magazine cover, and here you are, in a ponytail and leggings and still trying to get your coffee made. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that's one of the things we can do better and should do better as a society is glorify reality a little bit more, and the fact that you will make mistakes. It is okay to make mistakes, and really normalizing that failure status, because somehow, and especially with entrepreneurs, you pivot so many times, you change things so many times. That's not failing. That's just being realistic that you're building things that either don't exist or you want to make better. So you have to test, you have to experiment. And most of the time it's going to force you into that, calculated failure status, which is completely okay. And it shouldn't be something to shy away from. And as a matter of fact, I know you would agree on this, the more you do of that, the easier it becomes. And, the quicker you move through the obstacles that otherwise would be obstacles, but they're just, temporarily misdirections at the moment. And then they're lessons learned. I always say, there are no failures, there are just lessons learned.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I can't remember who said it, but, there's some, little quote, which is fail forward and fail fast, right? And yeah, I agree. It's not a failure, it's a lesson learned. And if you're trying something that doesn't work, you're still ahead of like the 80% of the rest of the population who's not even willing to give it a try. So
yeah. No,
so, Olenka, we're in some unusual times right now, and, we're seeing, I'm seeing it with my clients. I'm sure you're seeing it with your clients. There's some real mindset challenges that we have to work through here. There's the fear, there's the depression, there's lack of motivation, there's the uncertainty, everything that we normally have, but amplified probably for us now. What are a couple of tips you have or tactics that you have that can really help people lift their mindset, perhaps get out of that funk and actually find some more motivation and inspiration?
Yeah, no, great question. And it's so true. I mean, yes, it's definitely been weird for all of us. So first of all, like, again, get out of that mode that it's only you. I promise you, it's not just you. If you're not feeling depressed, if you're feeling, underperforming, if you're feeling kind of all over the place, it's normal. None of us are really designed to be in this strange place where everything, like, we woke up to a completely new reality, and we don't even know what the normal is or what the normal is going to be. Again, we are recreating something that nobody really knows what it's going to look like yet. So to me, it's a couple of things. One is actually might be sounding surprising to a lot of you listening, but it's lower the bar. I mean, here's the thing. You have to give yourself grace understanding that you are now living in a brand new world. You're learning new skills on the fly. You're pivoting and changing your businesses to accommodate the current reality. I mean, 80% of the businesses were not planning to go digital anytime soon, or to be primarily digital, and now we are all forced into that, and it's not going away, and it's probably going to be around forever, to be honest. So lower the bar in the sense that if you were always used to performing at 100%, and now because you're working from home and you have partners and kids who all demand attention, and your mind is not performing at the top of its game, if you're performing at 80%, that's a win. And you have to acknowledge that, and you have to be realistic with your time, especially with women, because they play such a multitude of roles between being a mom and a partner and everything, and also, delivering in their business. So give yourself some grace, lower the bar in the sense that movement and process and, progress are more important than being at 100% all the time. Because I always tell my clients, I would rather you perform at 40% daily consistently that you give me 100% today and then fall off for 2 weeks because you're depressed or stressed or whatever is happening. So progress right now is more important than anything. And I would say the second thing, especially right now, I always say that the best cure of depression are two things. One is massive action. Even if massive means a bunch of small, tiny steps, even if you do tiny littlest actions towards your goals daily, you're moving the needle. And that's what's most important thing. And then the second one I would say is definitely understanding that. So you have to understand that it's going to take time to readapt. Because we live in this microwave society where we think we just want to flip a switch. Like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to feel perfect regardless of pandemic, regardless of what's happening. I'm just going to be great. It's not going to happen. And it's not a flip a switch. You're an emotional human being. So your mindset is going to take time to process everything. So again, give yourself that time to adapt and kind of go slow and take the steps and move forward and do that massive action. And you can also go serve, because you can't be depressed or frustrated or angry or upset if you're serving other people. So that's again where we talked, collaboration comes in a lot of times very handy, because if you can serve someone else while you're building your own, that's definitely going to change your mindset right now.
Thank you. I was just writing some notes as you were taking that, because talking about that, because there's so many valuable and useful lessons there. So lower the bar, love that. Take massive action, and massive action might actually just be multiple small steps, which is really good advice, because we sometimes hear massive action and we think I have to do something life-changing, but it's not that. Take the time to adapt. I think that is so important, processing everything that around us is so big, as you've talked about. Everything's coming online, and e-learning and virtual and Zoom and technology. And, if you've never used that technology, that can be really daunting. So take some time to adapt and, get the help you need around that. And last but not least, serve, and serving others. I mean, I think fundamentally that's what we're all here to do as entrepreneurs and just as human beings, so they're just really, really valuable information. And if you're listening to that, I'd love to hear which ones resonate with you. So Olenka, as we get close to wrapping up today, I just have one last question. If someone's really has a dream and a passion, and they're still on the fence and they're holding back and they're waiting for a better moment or, better circumstances to start living their dreams, what advice would you give them?
Oh gosh, it's going to be very predictable coming from me. Just start, obviously. Just get started, because here's the thing, again, there is no magic, right? I wish we all had a magical moment or magical prediction rule, or we could look into this. I've done quite a bit of spiritual work, and it depends how people feel about it. It's really nothing, it's not that anything that I'm trying to push on people, but all I'm saying is sometimes out of that comes some very profound statements. And a couple of years ago, I actually happened to go to India, and I was in an ashram, and they give you a monk that works with you. And so him and I stayed in touch, and we talk. And just recently, and I'm just sharing, my own super vulnerable moment that hopefully will help some of you if you're sitting on the fence right now. And obviously we know this is a very strange time, and I'm adapting just like everybody else. And I was sitting on this big decision about my event, because it was supposed to be the 5th anniversary event, and I didn't know, do I go virtual? I never done it virtual. It's not my specialty, definitely not my expertise. So I was sitting on this decision, kind of going back and forth. And, I wrote this to him, and we communicate on Skype. And I said, Sanjay, this is what I'm dealing with. I don't know if I should wait till next year, because it's supposed to be such a big celebration. And I really want to go all out and have this woman be in the moment and experience what it's like to be in that room. And his response to me was very simple and very profound. He said, how do you know that you have a next year?
Right.
And that just gave me a whole new perspective and a massive wake-up call. So my call to action to all of you who are listening, you have to get out of assumptive living. You have to get out of assuming that you have tomorrow, that you have next week, that you have a better opportunity, that you have a better day or a better idea, because all you can do is start and try. And if you keep showing up with that starting and trying and making small actionable moments count in your life, you will still be ahead 80% of the people who are around you, because most people have that issue with just not starting. So by starting alone, you're literally ahead of 80% of people. And honestly, you don't have all the time in the world sometimes, and we don't have all the days that we want to have. So to me, it's like, if you are in that and you have a tiny little inkling inside your body that you want to test out this dream and see if it's actually a business or an opportunity, do it. I mean, there's no better way than just starting.
Well, thank you for that. That was really inspirational. I appreciate your vulnerable share. And I know you did go ahead with your event, and I was only able to see a few snippets of it, but it looked amazing. There was tons of energy, and I'm sure it was equally as powerful. And you know what? Probably even more powerful and more needed right now while people are in this isolation. So I think that's a great reminder for everybody. And, again, if you're listening and you're feeling a bit alone and you've got an idea, finding a community that works for you and can support you is so, so powerful. And whether that's Olenka's I Start First community, or, there's so many communities out there, but find a group that is aligned with you and your values and is there to support and cheer you on. And that's, again, that's not always like the very big high pressure sales kind of groups, which can be good for some people. They need that, right? That's alignment. But, someone that can a group that can support you on multiple levels, and follow that dream and get out there and get started. So Olenka, thank you so much today. In just a short amount of time, I think you've just given so many powerful tips, to get rid of that perfectionism, lower the bar, take the time to adapt, live in the moment, and just take small steps to follow your passion. They're sometimes seem like basic things, but I feel like I need a reminder of them almost every day. So now that you've said them and on the podcast, I can just rerun that every day. And I know that people listening here have found some great inspiration from this as well. So if you want to connect with Olenka, you can get a copy of her free ebook, which is called Stop Preparing, Start Doing. And you can go to her website to get that at olenkacullinan.com. And if you want to also connect with Olenka on social media, you can find her on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. And if you want to connect with me, as Olenka mentioned, I specialize in simplifying your business, and I create strategies and plans to help you do that, so you can scale with ease. You can visit me at Inspire and Drive and download my simple business blueprint, or schedule a discovery call. Thanks so much again for joining me today, Olenka. It's been so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, that's all for this week. I'm Natasha Mitchell saying thanks for joining us on Your Business Without Borders. Now let's go break some rules.
You've been listening to Your Business Without Borders with Natasha Mitchell. If you're ready to break some rules and create your business without borders, visit Natasha at inspireanddrive.com and download your free business blueprint or schedule a free business discovery session. You can also follow her on Instagram and Facebook at Inspire and Drive. Come back soon for another episode of Your Business Without Borders. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review, download an episode, and subscribe. This helps us reach even more people.